Good morning, church. The theme for Sabbath today is belonging, and I hope by the song that I'll sing today, that message is gotten. Do you mind restarting it? You met me deep in my despair to show me you would never leave me there. You claim because I was made for so much more. I am your child, and I'm worth fighting for. Though heavy in the weight of my mistakes, you carried me and refused to let me sink under the pressure you meant for me to soar. I am your child, and I'm worth fighting for. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard all you have planned for me. And nothing can separate me from your love when there's so much more still worth fighting for. Now I'm moving by faith and not by sight towards victory. By the power of your might, you're straightening out my path and opening every door. I am your child, and I'm worth fighting for. Eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard all you have planned for me. And nothing can separate me from your love when there's so much more still worth fighting for.
Eyes haven't seen,
No.
ears haven't heard all you have planned
For me, and nothing can separate me from your love when there's so much more still worth fighting for. And that's why I'm pressing towards the mark, 'cause the calling on my life is worth fighting for. And I'll keep my mind stayed on you, Jesus, 'cause the peace it brings is worth fighting for. No, this world, it's not my home, but your kingdom here is worth fighting for. And I'll be faithful to my church and family, 'cause my family here is worth fighting for. I got a mansion over in glory, and my new home is worth fighting for. Till I see it, sing hallelujah, 'cause your kingdom is worth fighting for. There is so much more still worth fighting for. Eyes haven't seen and ears haven't heard, still worth fighting for. There is so much more still worth fighting for.
Good morning and happy Sabbath. So I know you're thinking, all those young people, James, what are you doing here amongst them? Well, they have voted me in an honorary young adult for this Sabbath. So I'm so glad to see you guys today. We want to go straight into the topic. I am really excited for what you're going to hear today. I've got a preview of it. Our young adults have so much to share, and it's been thoughtfully considered. But we're going to jump right in. For those who don't know me, my name is James Johnson, but I want you to get to know this panel of awesome young adults and some of the things that they're going to share today. And I'll start with my co-host and co-facilitator. Sarah?
Hi, my name is Sarah Durichek, and I go to Southern Adventist University, and I study math, with a minor in business.
Test.
Yeah, my name is Twinkle, and I'll be attending Southwestern Adventist University in Texas, and I'll be a rising freshman.
My name is Nathaniel Wright. I attend Norfolk State University, my third year there, and I'm studying exercise science, wellness, and rehabilitation.
Hi, my name is Michelle Ansamuda, and I attend Germanna Community College, and I am studying nursing.
Hi, I'm Ally Steiner. I will be a freshman at Germanna Community College. You cannot hear me. It's on. There we go. Hi, my name is Ally Steimer. I will be a freshman at Germanna Community College, where I will be getting my nursing degree, and then I will be transferring to a four-year university to become a pediatric nurse practitioner.
Awesome. Thank you. Sarah?
Before we start, I'm going to read our theme verse again. It says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should abide, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give it to you. These things I command you, so that you will love one another. If the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love you as its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you." And that brings us to our first question. What does it mean to belong?
So the word belong quite literally means to be a member or a part of a particular group. So, say if I'm a player on a basketball team, I belong to that certain team, or my last name, that makes me belong to a certain family. But, there are other factors, that deal with belonging to something.
When I think of belonging, I think of being able to be part of a group and not having to change your face or put on a facade every single time that you go there. You can just be truly who you are and be accepted in every aspect of the sense.
Yeah, with what Michelle said, the first thing that comes to mind when it's belong is belonging to a church. And when you walk in the doors, you are loved, you are welcomed, you are yourself, and everyone is just accepting, and they just want you as you are, and you all are there for the same purpose, to worship God.
For me, belonging means fitting in and being accepted for who you are. And just like Ali said, we belong to our church. But just like the verse goes on to say, we belong to God first because he's the one who made us, chose us. And the biggest sign that he has shown us that he wants us to become part of his family is by sending his son to die for us. And so just like every groups that we have to join, we have this choice. So there's this free will, whether we want to join his group or we want to join the world. So yeah, let's make the right decision.
Yeah, I think definitely feeling accepted, feeling like you can be yourself is really important to have a sense of belonging. But I think also it's really important to have a sense of purpose within a community to feel like you truly belong. For me, I didn't really feel like I belonged to this church until I had purpose within it, until I was actively involved in the church and how it worked. And I think for most people, they don't really feel like they belong until they have a sense of purpose within their school, within their church, within their family, in their community.
Now, awesome thoughts. One of the things I've appreciated and heard from you all is that you gave an example, but then you gave us something personal that resonated with you. And we started with, what's it mean to belong? How does that feel? What's that look like? But I want to kind of turn it a little bit and get your candid thoughts. And I know you guys are going to be candid because we want to hear from you. I want to get your candid thoughts about a time where you didn't feel like you belong. You didn't feel part of the group. You felt like an outsider. And I want you guys to share with me, but not just me, the church and everybody online, what did that feel like for you?
Personally for me, I feel like one of the times when I didn't feel like I belonged was when I first moved here, because I was coming from an entirely different state. And when I came to this church originally, everybody had their groups, their little cliques. Everyone had known each other since they were children. And I was just like, oh, hi. And I found that when I was trying to belong, I lost myself in that process, because I was trying so hard to be what they wanted me to be and not being me at all. And over time, I learned that that little fake Michelle that I put up wasn't really what they wanted. And like, when I went back and talked to them now, they tell me, oh yeah, you used to be so mean. I'm just like, well, that wasn't me. I was doing what I thought you would like. And I feel like oftentimes we think that to belong, we have to change ourselves. But we don't. People like you for you, and if they don't, then those aren't the people for you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thank
to
you.
go off what Michelle said, going from a public elementary school to a private middle school, I went to TLC, everyone there had been going for so long. And they preach that, oh, it's a family school. I mean, everybody knows everybody. Well, when you're new there, everybody doesn't know you, and it feels like it's you, and you're just by yourself, and you've got the family that you've just been thrown into. And then, I mean, they just were welcoming and accepting, and it was wonderful for those 3 years. And then I got thrown back into a public high school. And it can be quite scary, especially when you found that faith, you found who you are in God, and then you go to a public middle school where I luckily had one, Seventh-day Adventist, my brother. But, I mean, no one believes what you believe. You go to church on Saturdays, you don't eat pork, you don't drink, you don't smoke. Everyone does that. And so now you just have to try and conform to what everyone wants you to be. Well, when you finally belong, you look back and realize, well, now I'm who I am. They loved me more when I was who I wanted to be, when I wasn't being fake, when I wasn't just trying to fit in. And you just you learn, just be yourself, and people will like you a lot more than when you're being somebody else.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Piggybacking off what Michelle and Ali said, on the flip side, when you try to put up a fake or false image of yourself to try to fit in, you can't hold that up for long. So it's better just in the long run, and especially like for the younger people, like people younger than us, like, but like when you get older, don't try to change yourself, because you're not going to be able to keep it up for long, and eventually you're going to look back and be disappointed in yourself that you tried to change to fit in when all you had to be was yourself. You'll draw in the people that need to be in your life if you're yourself from the get-go. So that's what.
Nah, powerful thoughts, and I know as I'm thinking about it, you guys, the ability to be candid and to share your personal experiences, I greatly appreciate. So.
For me, it was also with this church that I had trouble feeling like I belonged. Growing up in this church, it was very, like, I knew everyone. It was very, everyone knew each other, and it was that way for a very long time. And then I went to high school away from here, and so everyone, like, kind of grew without me, and I was away. And so this didn't feel like my church, because I came, every summer, not really that often. And my high school church felt like my church, because I was involved in it. I knew people there. Everyone around me was doing the same thing I was doing. And so when COVID happened and I had to come back here, it felt very foreign to me. I didn't know people here. I didn't know, the environment was different. And so I had to, step back and think, okay, how do I make this my church? And so I had to find people that fed me spiritually, that I could also feed spiritually. I had to become involved in the church. And that's when it finally felt like, okay, this is my church now.
Awesome thoughts. Greatly appreciate it. Let's continue on the conversation a little bit, because we've talked about belonging. We've talked about, times you didn't. But let's continue the conversation. Let's continue to unpack it.
Okay. What are some ways you have tried to fit in?
Oh, you got it.
So I remember when I first went to public school, I was homeschooled up until 8th grade. So when I first went to middle school, I used to wear khakis, you know what I'm saying? Nice polo, I had my shirt tucked in. Might have worn New Balances. It doesn't really matter. But so my first day at school, I go there and I see everybody, and everybody's wearing skinny jeans, Nikes, you know what I'm saying? And not that I wasn't fresh or nothing, but I was like, I would like to wear what they're wearing too. I felt kind of different from everybody, and so.
For those who can't hear, Dad's wearing it in the background.
So, before you know it, about 2 weeks into school, I'm coming back home, shirt untucked. I'm asking for new Nikes, new J's, you know what I'm saying? And I was doing all that to try to belong and try to fit in with the kids at public school. And again, there's nothing wrong with wearing khakis, or there's nothing wrong with dressing like how you dress, as long as you feel comfortable in what you wear. And I wasn't comfortable because of the environment I was in. So, if I'm to think of a specific time where I tried to belong, it was definitely back then.
So Nate, but just one thought that I want to ask you. At what point did it become more about who you were as opposed to what you were wearing, and you felt, hey, this is my crew of people I belong in? Was that a point you remember that kind of helped you feel like, hey, I'm here, I'm part of this group? Clothes aside.
So I would say I felt that when, and I think Ali said her brother went to school with her, and it's funny, but really when you have somebody who can relate to you on every aspect and you don't have to fake, I'd say that was my sophomore year in high school, that one of my friends who was also Seventh-day Adventist, they started going, and that's when I really felt, like I belonged to at least a group in school. So that, I remember each moment specifically, so that's when I felt.
Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it.
Mine's a little bit more serious. That was funny. I enjoyed that. But so when I first went to the elementary school that I went to fed into the high school that I ended up going to. And I really wanted to find my old friends. I wanted to fit in. I wanted friends. I wanted people. I cared about quantity over quality. And what I ended up doing was we had the football games on Friday nights. And I was going, and I missed out on rehearsal for song service. I missed out on AY meetings. I missed out on a lot of Pathfinder stuff just because it was Friday. I mean, that's the Sabbath. The Sabbath starts Friday night, sundown, and so did the football games. And I decided I'm going to go to the football games. That's where my friends are. It's not like I'm sinning. I'm not drinking. I'm not smoking. But my attention wasn't where it should have been. And COVID, when the football games weren't happening anymore, I finally was like, sundown to sundown. That's all that God asks, is that one 24, 25-hour period, just to focus on Him. And once I started doing that, I belonged more to a church. And that's what mattered more, was belonging more to the church rather than belonging to this group of people that thought I was cool because I went to the football games, or this group of people that thought I was cool because I bought drinks for everybody at the football games. But, it really came down to when COVID hit that I was like, all right, I belong to a church now because I'm here and I can actually attend the meetings. And I made more friends. Michelle and I got closer. Sarah is back now. And it was because I got to go to those Friday night meetings now.
Wow. So I think what I heard from you, Ali, and correct me if I'm wrong, we certainly want to honor God and do the things He asks us to do, but you were blessed in doing so. So maybe you would share with someone, hey, this is a blessing. I'm following what God said to do, and He's blessed me. Maybe that has a lot to do with it. I appreciate you being candid and being honest with us.
If I kind of piggyback back off of Allie and what she said about how, like, with school and friends and Friday night, so often I remember my friends would be like, hey, I'm having my birthday party on Friday. And I'm just like, what time? And they're like, 7. I'm like, great, I can't go. And so every single time I just be like, I hate this so much. And like, I remember 9th grade to like 11th grade, I hated it. I hated Fridays. I would just be like, okay, whatever. So then at some point, my friends would be like, hey, do you want to go out and get food? And I'm just like, technically, I can't buy it, but you can, and I can cash app you tomorrow. And that would be how it was. I'd be like, okay, let's go. I just can't spend money. I can't do all of this. And then like in the car ride, I'll be like, play some church music. And like, just to like make myself feel like I wasn't doing such a bad thing. And then over time, I remember me and my cousin, it was Friday, he was hungry, and we were gonna go get Chipotle. And like we had bought the food in advance, we were just going to pick it up. Like we had planned this perfectly. Like we were checking the time for when sundown was. And so as we're driving, his mom called him and we were in the car and she was like, all we ask is 24 hours of you. And like I was just singing in the car and then on the way home, like he had originally been playing his music and then like I thought he still wanted to hear it, so I kept playing it and he was just like, can we put on some church music? And I was just like, wow, I never thought I'd hear that out of him because he was never the let's play church music type of person. Like he felt so bad. And then like I look back and I'm just like, dang, I really was like that. I would find ways to avoid Friday nights, to get through Saturday, to look at the time and just be like, let's go. I got an hour and 12 minutes left. I just wanted to be able to be like other kids, and then I realized I'm not like other kids. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. There's a difference, because we're supposed to be able to show others what we're supposed to be like. We're supposed to be that example to people that this is what God wants, and so often we conform to be what they want so that they'll maybe come, but then they're just like, but you do all of this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I do. And you have to look at yourself and be like, I'm really changing myself for others and not for God.
Nah, great point, Michelle. So Michelle, follow up, and I didn't prep you for this, but you're good on your feet. So where are you now with this whole Sabbath thing and where God has you? Where are you now? Tie us up, tell us where you are.
I find myself, since COVID happened, I find that on Saturdays or Friday nights, I'll normally like go in my room, I'll put on like instrumental church music, like I'll set the mood to accept that it's Friday night. Like I've slowly learned it's Friday and I just need to get through this. It's not hard. It's really not hard to just sit down and have time with God. So I'll turn it on. I'll maybe like put on like, if you go like Matthew 22 through 24, King James Version, let that person talk, so soothing. So I'll put that on and I'll like let it go through, and then if I have practice, I'll come to practice, and then like I'll actually be timing out my days like, I have to get to practice, I can't do this. And they're like, but you want to have, I'm like, I can't, I got church, leave me alone. And I've just found myself saying no to other people because I'm excited to come to church. I'm excited to do work here. Because of not being here for so long, I finally appreciated the church that I never wanted to come to.
Wow.
And then...
Gotta say it out loud now. You're on the panel. Okay.
She said the church she never wanted to come to.
Hey, she's being candid. I appreciate it.
I'm being honest. And then on Saturdays, I'll like go home, eat dinner with my family, or if I have the time, and I sincerely apologize, I'll go to the Scipio's house. I'm so sorry, I'm coming today. And I'll just like go on walks with someone there, or just sit in my room and like have karaoke moments. It's just, I feel so much better on Saturdays than I used to.
Thanks for sharing that transformation. Other thoughts?
What I was gonna say was when we start looking at, I think especially like growing up, we look at churches or we look at the Sabbath as, oh man, I gotta do this. Like it's a chore. Like, all right, let's hurry the clock up. Let's go. Especially like the summertime when the sun set later. Oh my goodness, bro. But when you start looking at the Sabbath as, okay, this is a day of rest, especially when you start working. Oh my goodness, bro. A day off. Get to sleep, get to be with, especially when you have church, family, and friends, it makes it so much better. And when you start looking at it as fellowship instead of a chore, instead of, oh, I can't do this, look at what you can do, and that's what makes it,
Oh, wow.
better.
No, good points. Before we I don't want to transition too quick. Other thoughts? A theme I picked up on, and we'll move to the next question. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, since I'm honorary. I don't want to get kicked out on my first trip. Thematically, as it pertains to belonging, something I heard from you guys that resonated with me was the idea of trying to fit with other people, but relative to the Sabbath in 3 areas, I hear you saying, I can belong to God. He has kind of eked out that special time for me, and that's a really important thing, and I hadn't thought of it specifically that way, so I appreciate those thoughts. Any other things on that particular question?
How have you felt intimidated when becoming part of a group?
So it can be really intimidating when you start because you are in that tense state where you're constantly scrutinizing your deeds and your talkings, whether it would match what the group believes in, because you're scared if you may not, do things a certain way, you might be kicked out. And if you're kicked out, you might not have any other friends. So an experience that I can share regarding this is when we had to make an important decision of moving from Kuwait to India, because because exams would fall on Saturdays and classes would fall on Saturdays in Kuwait, and there weren't any Adventist church schools over there. So we prayed as a family, and God showed us the school, a Seventh Adventist school in India, and me and my brother, after 8th grade, went to study in that school. And I remember going over there wasn't easy because it was a different curriculum, different syllabus, different people, friends. Everyone was different. And I didn't feel like I fit in at the beginning because everyone had their own likes and dislikes, and I had my own set of likes and dislikes, and they like to talk about certain things which I felt a little bit too early, that I didn't fit into it. So I was feeling kind of sad in the beginning, but then thankfully I did have a couple of good close friends who were there to accept me for who I was and share the same faith as I do. And after that, after 2 years, my mom got a job in Mary Washington over here. So God opened another way for us together as a family to come to the States. And I remember at the beginning, I was a little bit shy, going to school, coming and meeting everyone at church. It was a totally new experience. But slowly, as we started going for Pathfinders and started coming to church, all our church members, our instructors, just helped me and my brother to come out of that shell and to feel like we belong and feel like we're part of a group.
Quick follow-up. Don't turn your mic off just yet. Quick follow-up. So if I heard you right, Twinkle, and I think I did, what helped you was a big group of people, but it seemed like at least 1 or 2 good friends you connected with. How did that connection form that allowed you to connect with that group? What was that about? How did you guys connect?
So she had like the same background as I did. She moved from a different place as well, a different state as well. So she didn't exactly understand their language and understand people the way I did. And she also had the same set of faith as I did. And we both shared a lot of likes. We like to talk and read more. And we just hung out together, and I felt like we were part of a group the first day itself.
Thanks for sharing, Twinkle. I appreciate it.
I think, everyone kind of expects church to be a welcoming place. And it is, to a point, but religions are different, very different. And when you are Catholic or Methodist or Baptist and you come to a new church or a new religion, we'll start with a new religion, it's different. You don't fit in. You don't believe the same things. And it can be really hard to accept that. Well, let's say you do. You accept that. You Catholic and now, I'll use that, my dad, Catholic and now Seventh-day Adventist. In Seventh-day Adventism, every church is different. So you've been going to the Seventh-day Adventist church in California, and you wear jeans and a t-shirt, and you go out and you pass out food, and that is your whole sermon. That is your whole Saturday. That's what you do. Well, then you come here, and you are in your Saturday best, and you are sitting and you listen to the message. You go home and you fellowship. It's different, and sometimes you're not prepared for that. I think you have to take a step back and say, all right, I know I'm about to do a new thing. I know I'm about to be in a new place, and you have to be open. And so when you allow yourself to be open to new things, people will come up to you and greet you, and you will be welcomed, and you will then feel like you belong. The point I'm getting at is you can't be closed off if you want to belong. Because if you just sit in the back, and if that works for you, that works for you. If you want to sit in the back, you can sit in the back. But if you just sit in the back and close yourself off to anything new, you won't be able to have the connections, like Twinkle was talking about, that bring you in, that help you feel like you belong. You've got to open yourself up to God. You've got to open yourself up to new things, and it'll just pave the way for you to belong.
Can I ask you a personal question? Not too personal. Was there a specific time where you felt, you don't have to unpack it all, where you felt intimidated in a group environment, whether it be at the workplace or in the church, and how did you overcome that?
So, let's see, intimidated in a word. That's
By
a good
the
question.
group.
By the group. So, a while back, to not get too personal, a while back, I was attending church every week. I was a part of the song service. I was a part of the service. I mean, I'd read scripture, help with offering. I would go to the back, get the baskets for the kids to grab. And it was brought to my attention that, my attire might not be what everyone else is wearing. That the things that I'm wearing are not what everyone agrees with. And I felt immediately, as soon as I heard that I didn't belong. That everyone had been looking at me like this horrible person who didn't know how to dress. That I mean, every week, every moment, every conversation that I had at church was then tainted. Were they judging me? Were they thinking that I shouldn't be here? Should I change what I'm doing? And I didn't know what to do. So I stopped helping out in church. I mean, I sat with my parents. I didn't want to put myself in front. And I prayed. I'm not going to cry. Whew. I prayed. And I was like, God, have I been, not true to myself? Have I been trying to look better for this reason or wear this for something other than just to wear clothes to go to church? And I realized that nothing that was told to me was true. I was being true to myself, but it was that one voice that I heard that made me question everything. And I was afraid that I didn't belong. And it took COVID and not seeing everybody to find who I wanted to be and where I belonged with God. It came back to where I belonged with God. And I belonged. That's point blank period. I belonged.
Thanks, Allie. Two things I'm appreciative in what you shared. One was you were personal, and I know that wasn't easy for you. But two is you went to God, and you're still here serving. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. Other thoughts?
I remember I briefly shared this with y'all at a meeting, but I have a cousin, and he had come down from New Jersey, and this is kind of piggybacking off of you. And in New Jersey, they have different mannerisms. They have different ways they talk, they walk, they wear. And when he came down, I remember telling him over the phone, make sure you bring church clothes, because I knew he was coming for the weekend. So when he got here, I was like, hey, and so it was like Friday, he got in the car, and I was like, okay, we can do all this, this, and that, but we have to be in the house by this specific time. And so we got in the house, and then while we were in the house, I said, oh, let me see your church clothes. And he then said, I don't have any. And I was like, what are you wearing to church? He said, can't I wear these jeans and this t-shirt and these shoes? I said, no, we're going to church. You can't do that. And he was like, why not? I said, get in the car. And so I rushed him to Fredericksburg, and we were in the store, and he was picking up like some other jeans. I said, khakis. And he was like, okay. And then he was like picking out shirts. I said, no. You need this shirt, this pants, this top. And then I was like, okay, this is decent. And I was like, you can wear sneakers, that's fine. And so on the way home, I remember being in the car with him and being like, okay, so this is how we talk at church. Because I remember how he speaks. And when he speaks, there is sometimes profanity after every other word. So I said, let's not do that. And so I was teaching him how to properly talk, how to walk, how to just stand and sit. I was like, when you sit, don't do this. Sit like this. I was like, you need to talk like this. Keep your mask right here. And by the time we were home, I was having him read a script of how he was supposed to be at church. he knew what he was supposed to say and every single thing he should do. And when he came, he just sat there. And my cousin, he hadn't gone to church in a very long time. So then when I looked over at him, I remember I was like writing down some notes, but when I looked over at him, he was so captivated by the message. He was just loving it. He was sitting there soaking it all in and like tapping me in between like little things and saying, that's so true. And I was just like, okay. And I think I had this idea in my head that because of who he was, he wouldn't fit in. He wouldn't be right. He didn't fit the Seventh-day Adventist image that I had created in my mind, that this is what it should be to be a Seventh-day Adventist. And when we went outside, I remember he said something, and like by the time we got in the car, I was ready to coach him. Just like, you messed up. You were supposed to say this. Why did you do that? And then on the way home, the way he was talking, he had been so focused and had let every single word that was said soak in. And he was talking about the whole sermon ways that I wouldn't have. I was just saying there like, I didn't even hear that part. I didn't even pay attention to that. And it just dawned on me that just because they aren't like us doesn't mean that they can't fit here. Doesn't mean that they won't be able to take it in. And sometimes they take it in better than us because we're so accustomed to hearing it that sometimes we'll just sit there and be like, yeah, I know that verse, I know this, I know that. But the people who don't know it, they see different viewpoints because they had a different walk of life. He's coming from a harder place than I am. And he was able to take that back with him. And he said to me, oh, I went to church last week. And I have never been so proud of him because it's just, I didn't think that he would be the right fit because of who he was. And that's on me for making this idea that just because you hadn't gone to church or just because you don't dress this way or talk this way, that you don't fit in.
Nah, great points. I mean, one thing that we tend to lose the older we get is just an honest assessment of where we are. Don't lose that, Michelle. I appreciate what you shared. If we're being honest, how many of us have felt sort of like that, right? Bringing somebody new to church, what do we want them to say? What do we want them to do? How do we want them to act? I really appreciate those thoughts. Anybody else? I don't want to move you off that too quick. Anybody else has thoughts? Okay. I kind of want to throw this at you. We've been on a little bit of a journey, and we'll talk about this at the end, from your own personal belonging, how you felt, how you dealt with it. And you guys have started this already. Michelle, you set us up real well for this next question. So I'm very interested in your thoughts, and I'm hopefully we all are. But the question is, what are some ways that we can make people who come to church feel like they belong? How can we do it? We talked about how we felt. How can that translate to helping others who are coming for the first time feel like they belong? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
My idea is just to talk to them because we may never understand what they're going through until we are in their shoes. So they might be having a lot of problems in their life and they might need someone to share it with. So an experience I can relate this is when a lady talked to my family about how she didn't feel like she belonged when she went to the church in Kuwait. Now, Kuwait is my home church. That was where I was born, and I felt everyone was super friendly. People were amazing. They were ready to help, and they were amazing people. But she didn't feel the same way. So that made me understand that sometimes we don't do it purposefully, like we do it unconsciously. We fail to think what they're going through, or fail to just go up to them and just say, hi, how are you? How is your day going? And thankfully, she moved to a place in Bahrain where my uncle was, and I also got to visit that church over there. And because the church was a much smaller church compared to Kuwait, everyone was helpful over there, and she felt like she was a part of a group. And what my point is, just talk to that person and show them an act of kindness, because they might actually start coming to church because you were kind to them and not because they fully accept our beliefs. But in that process, they'll get to know more about our loving God and become part of our church.
Wow, Trick, I think I hear you saying a personal touch, right? Just reaching out. And something else I picked up from you that I'll repeat it, you correct me if I'm wrong, was that if we're not intentional about reaching out, we can unintentionally make someone feel excluded. I think I heard you say. Yep.
Yeah, I really liked what Twinkle said. I think even before that, we need to not judge. It is human nature to look at someone, to take them in, and to go, that's who you are. What I have seen, that is who you are. You cannot change. And I think what we need to realize is that, yes, on Saturday you put your best foot forward. But what your best foot is not what mine is. You may be able to dress in, you may have the nicest dress, the nicest shoes, you may have had the best week, you had a spiritual retreat, you and God are just, well, my week was not so good. I had a family member pass away, or my dog's not doing well, my dog is sick, my neighbor, it just isn't doing well. So my best foot forward is what I was able to pull out of the clean clothes, what I was able to come in and do. My best foot is a smile. That's what I can give you. I can't give you a conversation right now. I can't give you a hug right now. I can give you a smile. And we have to be okay with that. We can't sit there. She didn't she didn't shake my hand. She didn't hug me. That's just a bad person. I don't want to be with that. We can't do that. You cannot judge. You have to be welcoming. And it's not you have to be welcoming of, you have to be welcoming. You have to love everyone that sets foot in the door. There's nothing else to say. You have to love everyone that sets foot in the door.
So, Allie, thank you, first off. Let me ask you this. Do you agree with the idea that redirect or counsel is best done in the context of a loving relationship? And if you do, how do we do it? If there's something we might need to offer, how do we do it? How do we do it and make it be okay?
Yeah, there's no way to tell someone that what they said just wasn't appropriate. If you have no connection with them, you can't just go up to a stranger and be like, what you said was not okay. Who are you to tell them that? If you really have something on your heart, maybe that God is telling you to do, you've got to make that connection. And you're only going to be able to do that by being loving, by being welcoming, by accepting them for who they are. And only then can you work your way in to get what God is pressing on your heart. I mean, you can't just go up to someone first day in the church. You have to tuck your shirt in. We don't have untucked shirts here. We don't do that. No, you work your way in. And I mean, if you look around, if you really sit there and look around, everyone is different. There is not a single person in this church who has walked the same exact path. And if we were to only talk to the people that fit with us, that had walked the same path, this would be a very quiet church. This would be a very quiet church. And that's not a church that I want to be in. I love this church. I love this church. I look around. Oh, excuse me.
It's okay.
I look around and I see Chloe. And I know Chloe. Chloe and I are friends. I see Miss Bejor, and I love Miss Bejor. Miss Bejor and I are friends. I look around, I see Mr. Wright, Mr. Billy Wright. He and I are friends. Everyone in here has the same opportunity to be friends. You will not come into this church and be judged poorly because of what you're wearing, what you say, what you do, how you breathe. You will walk into this church, and you will be home. And I think that's what this whole service is about. You'll be home. We'll talk about that next week, but you will belong as soon as you step foot in this church because of how loving we are, and we cannot lose that.
Thanks. I don't know. What do I say next? I appreciate that, Allie. Yeah, other than Pastor, we need to get Allie on the rostrum for the next sermon. So, thank you, dear. I appreciate what you shared. Other thoughts on that? I want to move off this too quick, Brother Nate.
So, piggybacking off what Ali said, we need to also be understanding. Sorry, piggybacking off what she said, we also need to be understanding of where people come from, and when you start going out different places, you start seeing people from different backgrounds. And we also, as Seventh-day Adventists, as like members of this church, we need to understand we're fortunate. As Ali said, she has friends here and everything like that. Not everybody has that. Like, not everyone comes to church on Sabbath and has a church family. Not everyone goes to church at all. So they are alone a lot of the time. They don't. And then on top of that, a lot of people don't even know God. So they don't even have anything to turn to. So we're fortunate to have a church family. I have friends here that I grew up with. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone has long life friends. A lot of people are alone. So when someone comes into the church, we need to understand we don't know where they're coming from, and we need to be understanding of their circumstances. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Kind of going off of what Twinkle said, it's really important to simply just talk to people, because I think as people who go to this church, sometimes we just want to come and just kind of be invisible and not really have to interact with people. So people who come here for the first time aren't necessarily trying to be invisible. They're searching for a community. They're searching for people who believe like them, and they want a sense of purpose within this community. So we can't treat people like they're invisible. We have to, invite people to Sabbath lunch, or, as they come more, have them do things up front, have them be leaders in the church. If people don't have a sense of purpose within this community, they may not feel like they belong, and they may not want to come back. So it's important to just talk to people and understand where they're coming from.
Sarah, was there a moment in time in your walk with God and your church history, and I didn't prep you for this either, so where something happened where you're like, hey, I really, as a young adult, I really belong now. I'm part of this church. It's mine too. Or it didn't have to be here. It could be at school. Was there a time for you where you remember that happened for you?
Here, it was kind of when, pastor came to me and asked me to do this panel or be in the AY leadership group. That was when I kind of felt, okay, I'm doing something for this church, I'm helping, and, it feels like I'm a part of it, I'm, involved.
Now, thanks for that, because you hit on that point about involving people, and they feel, hey, I'm part of what we're doing. I'm not sitting on the bench, so to speak. Other thoughts there? Michelle?
When I looked at this question, I thought to find a Bible verse that wasn't one that Ms. Jeter had picked. And when I thought of one, I saw Romans 14, verse 1, and this is from the Message Bible, and I thought they said it perfectly, and it kind of incorporates everything everyone said, I realized. Welcome with open arms, fellow believers who don't see things the way you do. And don't jump all over them every time they do or say something you don't agree with, even when it seems that they are strong on opinions but weak in the faith department. Remember, they have their own history to deal with. Treat them gently. And when I read that, and after everyone has said everything, it's the truth. We are so quick to judge based off how you look, how you talk, all of these little things. We will see you and we'll just be like, cool, they'll come back maybe. And we don't jump to talk to people. We don't try and understand where they're coming from. And we don't always welcome everyone. Sometimes just a little look of how someone might say something, dress, where they sit, we always try and determine who they are, judging a book by its cover. And you're never supposed to do that, because we're not the ones that are supposed to judge anyone in this world. We're just supposed to love. The only person who is to judge is God. If you're perfect, step forward, and no one is. And I feel like we have come to make this idea in our heads that because we're Seventh-day Adventists, we're perfect, but we're not. We're just as human and just as meek, as feeble, as wrong, as sinful as everyone else. The only thing we're supposed to do is lead people to God, to love them, to let them find somewhere that they can call home. That's it.
No, I appreciate that. The Bible is replete with ideas of once we realize that we need help, we can really fall at Jesus' feet. So thank you for sharing that the way you did. I appreciate it. Other thoughts? Okay, so just a little bit about the journey. We've been on a journey, us and you and folks online today, and the journey started for me when I first sat down with these young people a couple weeks ago at Sister Sharon's house to kind of prep. And I was just listening. I was just sitting there, and everybody was talking. We were talking about the theme, and some things that occurred to me from listening to them was the fact that I had moved beyond some of the real candor and some of the real honesty that I came in the church with, right? Just kind of looking and observing and understanding. And they helped me a great deal. Even today, we kind of been on a journey together. We started with the idea of what belonging means, and you guys did a great job on sharing that. And I want you to give a quick blurb and a follow-up on the end. Then we talked about, times we didn't belong, right? We talked about times we were intimidated by the groups and when things like, oh man, this is overwhelming, I don't know what to do. And then you all brought it home for us. You themed it in very well, and I appreciate it. You brought it home for us in that you said, from your experiences, this is what I'm going to commit to do. It's what I heard from you guys. I'm going to commit to do this so I can make someone belong, make them feel belonging, make them feel as if they belong. And I don't know about you guys, but that's what I took away. What do I need to do personally? Who do I need to reach out to? What am I not doing that makes someone feel like they're not, part of our loving group? And as I read the Bible, Jesus came to renew us and restore us to his family. So I kind of want you guys to give us a final thought. It could be a commitment, it could be something that resonated with you, and then we're going to just offer it to others to maybe hear what we're saying and do things a little different. So just a final thought. I'm just going to start on my left and go around. I'm sorry, Allie, you're first. And then we're going to go around. Whatever's on your heart, but keep it concise. Allie?
All right. The one point that I want to press is just, it starts within, don't judge. The first time you see somebody, the first 3 seconds that when someone walks in the door, give them a smile. The first thought that you think, there they are, smile. Instead of the, don't do that. They walk in the door, smile, happy Sabbath. I'm so glad that you're here. Then get to know them.
Thanks. Michelle?
My final thought is that when you see somebody, be it here, be it outside, be it whatever, think about when you didn't belong, and then think about how you're about to treat them. Think about what you would want them to say to you, like basic, treat others the way you want to be treated. Look at them, remember when you didn't feel like you fit in, and make them fit in.
Awesome, thank you. Nate?
I think stepping out of your comfort zone, that's what I got from this, because you don't know where everybody's at when they come, and it might be your action that helps them be able to have a walk with God in the first place. So just stepping out of your comfort zone and getting to know somebody, so that if there might happen to be something that y'all don't agree with, you have a relationship. It's easier for you to go to somebody and tell them. It means more when you tell them to fix something that they're doing when you guys actually have a relationship. So, like, my parents, when I was younger, they couldn't tell me to stop doing something. Well, they could, but they couldn't tell me to stop doing something if we didn't have a tighter relationship. Whereas, like, if a random adult told me to stop doing something, I'm not going to listen to you because you're not really my mom or dad. But that's besides the point. So make a connection with somebody, and, so that you can help them in their walk with God, too.
Awesome. Twinkle?
My idea is just try to talk with them and get out of the comfort zone, just like Nate said. Try to know them more, because they might need help. It might be simple things like help with furniture, moving furniture. I know when I moved in, there were people in the church that helped us, and a lot. So just get to know them and try to comfort them and be there for them when they're going through the tough times.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, I think those things are important. Relating with people, sympathizing with people. I think also giving them a sense of purpose within the community is really important. Giving them things to do, inviting them to do things, and asking them to be truly a part of the community.
Thank you. So we'll close, and I just, for you, and maybe this is what's on my heart and on my mind, maybe you guys can share that as well. There is a tendency to dismiss what our young adults are saying. Well, we got to fix them, we got to redirect them, we got to tell them how it really is. In my humble estimation, they've said how it really is. And so my prayer is that we will think about what's been said here today. See how God can move our hearts to either, I don't know where you're at today. Maybe you're feeling like you don't really belong. You're sitting here today. That could be you. Maybe it occurs to you that something's happened and there's an opportunity for you to make someone else feel like they belong. And I'm talking to those online. So one thing I want to say, too, we have a homecoming coming up. And I remember, I promise a short story, I remember I was sitting out at that door, at the back door, and someone, a longtime church member, I won't say their name, walked out, and she said to me, I haven't been here, no one's reached out to me in a long time. My first thought was, well, I had reached out not that long ago, but I didn't say that, thank God. I just chased after her and asked her, let her know we loved her. But my first thought was to rationalize why that couldn't be so. That's impossible. She couldn't feel that way. She was very hurt. And my point is, let's look at it from their perspective. We've got homecoming coming up. You might have heard the pastor say, hey, reach out. I bet you everybody here knows someone who feels hurt and left the church. Reach out to them. Let them know the love. It doesn't matter if they come back per se. We'd love them to. But it matters that you reach out and let them know that they belong, you love them, and you care about them. And for those who are online or in the church, if you say, I just don't feel what you're saying, James, but I want to, I'm going to ask you to type the word belong, B-E-L-O-N-G, belong, B-E-L-O-N-G, to this number, 540-361-6375. Someone will contact you. We love you. We want to make sure that we're doing things that you know that. And we just ask that you guys would really walk up to these young adults, let them know how much you appreciate them, let them know. It's not easy to get up here and do what they just did. It's not easy to get in front of you all, I promise you. They did it with courage, with clarity and conciseness, and I thank you guys so much, not for just this, but who you are individually. So may God bless you. Thank you so much.